Yes, guys, welcome back to Cossy Arsenal Podcast. My name is Cossy. Welcome back to a brand new video. Is it time for Arsenal and Arsenal fans to start thinking about winning the Champions League? Mikel Arteta was asked about this in his press conference after the game, and he said, listen, it's still very far. We've got to do a lot of work, and there's going to be a couple of steps that we've got to go through, but at the moment, so far, so good. So, is it time for us to start thinking about winning the double potentially, or even winning the Champions League? I would prefer to win the Champions League over the Premier League every single day. I know that at some point in time we will win the Premier League. At some point in time, the signs are there. But winning the Champions League with Bayern, Barcelona, and Madrid and PSG all still in it, with the likes of Manchester City, that would be fabulous. That would be the real point for me. So hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well. Let's dive into the debate. Should Arsenal start thinking about winning the Champions League? And let's also see what the manager said after the Porto performance that almost killed me, but in the end, I slept a very, very happy man. Mikel Arteta, of course, they're talking to the media, and the first question was about the emotions after winning on penalties, and he said it's magic. What we expected, a really, really tough opponent, really well organized and very, very difficult to generate constant momentum in the game and in the way they play, and that's credit to them. We did it. We scored a beautiful goal. They insisted in very many different ways in the way the game allowed as well, and it's such a huge experience for us. We had to do it at the end with penalties. We prepared well, and credit to the coaches as well for the way they did it, and obviously for David Raya. He had some difficult moments to start, but he stood up and had an incredible personality and ambition, and in the end, he got rewarded with his moment. So there, David Raya, of course, Mikel Arteta giving him the praise, and the coaches. And I think in tournament football, one thing I've seen with Mikel Arteta, when he's good, in tournaments, he's tended to be really good. So we played a final we played a semi-final in the Europa League with him. We played a final and won it in the FA Cup, and now we are in the quarterfinals of the Champions League, something we've not done in a long while. But when you look at him in competitions like the Carabao Cup and competitions like the FA Cup, he doesn't really seem to convince you that he's a good knockout stages manager, like he's a good knockout competition manager. But again, what we saw yesterday was different. We saw an Arsenal team that had surely prepared, an Arsenal team that knew conceding was not an option, and therefore we gave away the least amount of XG you could give to a club like Porto, because they're very good, the likes of Pepe, the likes of Conceição in that midfield trying to make things happen, the Taremi and all those other players. I think Arsenal really did a great job. So we move on to the next one, but now we know what it takes to win a difficult game in the Champions League. So when we play Madrid, when we play Bayern, it's not going to be about playing Sheffield and West Ham and beating them 6-0, 6-1. It's actually going to be more about how do you as a club present yourself character-wise in the UEFA Champions League, and that is a very, very big submission there from Mikel Arteta. Mikel Arteta on the impact of tonight's result and what kind of and what kind of effect it will have on the squad. He says for them to do it when the club hasn't managed to do it for 14 years, it tells you the difficulty of it. When the margins are so small, we have found a way to do it again. I see how much they want it and how much they try. They're able to sacrifice anything to win, and they play like this. At the end, it's going to come our way sooner or later. And it happened tonight. I think, listen, mentally on this squad, and this is a very important point. Mentally, this squad is well prepared. I don't even care what other people think. I think this squad is absolutely very, very prepared to go into the last 10, 14 games of the campaign. And I don't think we will win the double. I think at some point you either slip up in the Champions League or you either slip up in the league. We have around 6 difficult games. You have to go to Manchester City's ground, you have to go to Tottenham Hotspur's ground, you have to go to Manchester United's home ground, and those are very difficult fixtures, and anything can happen there, and those are grounds that Arsenal go to and don't pick up points. Like the Old Trafford, we don't really win there so much. The Etihad recently, we don't win there so much as well. And probably Tottenham, you've got to give them credit. They have a new manager who has who has managed to give them a different look and a different kind of texture. So I don't think we will win the double, but this result means that Arsenal can now concentrate on business. It is now business, right? Quarterfinals, semi-finals, those are 2 rounds, and you are in the final. And Mikel Arteta knows this, that when you get a chance and you play PSV, or you get a chance and play Borussia Dortmund, you will go through to the semi-finals, and there, whoever comes, it's business, because that is the route for you to the final. That is the final, hassle factor between you and the final, all right? And then you've got to remove them. So, emotionally and mentally, it's a boost for me. It's an energizer to this team. They now know they can do it, but they also now know that it's not going to be a bed of roses all the time, and it shouldn't be a bed of roses all the time. And there is no bed of roses every single time. At times, it will be easy, and I won't be surprised if Arsenal win home and away in the quarterfinals, whoever we draw, even if it's Manchester City. I won't be surprised if Arsenal win home and away in the quarterfinals. Why? Because we looked at FC Porto. We thought this was an easy game. We thought we would go through, through the winning both legs, or probably picking up a point in Portugal. That didn't happen. We might actually bring a different kind of intensity to the quarterfinals, and that is what we will do. I'm actually very, very sure about that. So Mikel there saying that the impact on this team, especially that we've gone through after 14 years of failure. Mikel Arteta on whether he has expected an atmosphere like that tonight before. He says probably not. It was amazing from the start to the end. When you have to do that extra at the end with penalties, apart from bringing that, they are so smart in the way they did it and the way they helped us. He's talking about the fans. A huge thank you, because with them we are so much better, and I think today they have impacted the game in a really, really strong way. When I did my first video today, I said it, I talked about it, that you've got to answer to these Arsenal fans, but you've got to give them a lot of credit, really, really a lot of credit, because they are so energetic. They are very, very good. The way they sing, that rhythm and that, non-stop chanting, Arsenal, 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 Arsenal. And it just brings the vibe. Even when you're watching on TV, it just energizes you. Even when you're watching far away, a million miles, a million kilometers away, you're actually energized. And I think this team is so lucky to have such a fan base. I think, listen, great clubs have great stadiums. What makes a great stadium? It is the fans. So when you go to Turkey, Galatasaray, I bet you Manchester United fans will tell you you're not picking up 3 points from there. When you go to the Signal Iduna Park in Germany, well, I'm not really sure if the atmosphere is still as good as it was when Jurgen Klopp was there. But when Jurgen Klopp was there, you don't go to the Signal Iduna and be guaranteed of points, right? So for great stadiums at times make great teams, right? The stadiums that you will go there and you just want a point. As simple as that. So if you went to the Metropolitano, you pick up a point, that's a great result. San Siro, I'm not really sure if the atmosphere is still the same from 10, 20 years ago, but if you go to the San Siro, you're definitely going to get cooked by the fans, and I think our fans are adopting that. It's coming from the fact that the team is doing very well, and I really, really are loving it. Okay, Mikel Arteta on the way we set up against FC Porto. He says we always play. We always play. If not, I don't know how you are. I don't know how we are top of the league in the Premier League. It's the best league in the world. Okay, so Mikel Arteta there, reminding them that we are always good. On our penalty takers all having experience in this in that scenario, it says, I didn't think that, but it's a great point. Probably having a great experience, because that experience is much more real than what we've done in the last 2 days. Just in case we had to go through that tonight, they looked really composed. The boys, the way they took the penalties was superb, and David Raya contributed in his big way as well. I think Raya saves that penalty. Raya saves the fourth penalty because Rice scores his. I could be wrong, but I think when your team is scoring their penalties, when your team is converting their spots from their spots, it means that as a goalkeeper, you take it on yourself the responsibility to save at least one, right? I think it really does well. I think is it the second penalty that he saves? Yeah, the second penalty. I think he really does very well there. He goes there. And he's lucky as well because it hits the post and it could have come off him and went into the back of the net. But he's absolutely very lucky there. He's really lucky. And apart from that, I think the way we took the penalties was superb. Really superb. Saka, yeah, he takes them. Odegaard, I love his composure when it comes to taking penalties. Really a captain, figure. Declan Rice has missed one already for West Ham last campaign, I think. And in this scenario, he's very composed. He's very calm. With Kai Havertz, I didn't have any doubts. I think he's got the ability to score a penalty, but then he's in the right form and in the right mental space to score a penalty as well. So, good job. Really good job. Mikel Arteta on whether he was comfortable going into penalties. He says no, because practicing in the ground, a few of them missed by the way yesterday, not today. We prepare everything, the extra time, the scenarios, the changes, how the players have to drink and eat and all that. And in the end, in the end, you have to do it in the game and replicate the scenarios. Replicating the scenarios is really difficult. Total credit to the boys stepping up with maturity, with the confidence that they delivered with. And I tell you, I was nervous. I was absolutely nervous when we were going into this because I really hate penalties. But also, why I was nervous actually is because of Spain. I am a big Spain fan in the national teams, and Spain are horrendous when it comes to penalties. When Spain get a penalty kick, that's a goal kick or a corner probably. When we go into a penalty shootout, it's done. It's purely done. So when I saw that, I was like, are we really going into penalties? And do we really need to go to penalties? But the boys have delivered. And that is the most interesting part. They have delivered, and they have actually delivered very well. So kudos to Mikel Arteta and the team. I think they did their homework there very well. On David Raya's performance, proving his worth, it says, I don't have to see him today. I was very convinced that it was going to be the case. You see in the first few days here and what he had to go through and how he did it with composure. You look at his body language and the position that he takes. He does, he doesn't get very affected, and that's a key quality for a goalkeeper. And this actually is a key reason. Wow, Mikel Arteta. This is a key reason as to why Ramsdale is actually out of goal. So look at that again. Look at it. He says you look at his body language and the position that he takes. He doesn't get very affected, and that's a key quality for a goalkeeper. So literally, I think that he's talking about the emotions not getting to him. He's talking about him being calm and concentrated and collective throughout the 90 minutes and throughout extra time, and even coming to the penalties. And I think Ramsdale, one of the problems we know about him, he loses concentration. He gets those little blips, where he loses concentration, and that is one of the reasons why Mikel just can't trust him. But I really do love Ramsdale, and I would love him to stay at Arsenal if possible. Of course, we'll do a video about him. On his learnings from the 2 legs in the Champions League, Mikel says, having experience, I haven't done it before. As you said, it's the first time I've done anything in the Champions League, and to try to learn every single day, you get advice. That's why you have great coaches around you, great people as well to help you and make you much better as a manager. On Odegaard's disallowed goal, he says, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the replay live. I cannot understand it, but if the decision was made, then there was actually something there. Yeah, there was a pull from Kai Havertz on how far ahead we can start to look after this result. It says it's very early, and now when I sit at home, I'm going to look at the teams who have to play and start another big mountain to climb. On whether a defeat would have affected the rest of the season, Mikel says that is the way we have to look at it right now. If you're out of one, if you're out, you think one less competition. We can focus on the league. More time to prepare for games, but now the energy that it brings amongst the squad, amongst the club, it's really, really powerful. And lastly, on what he expects from the rest of the competition, he says really, 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 really happy. Obviously, we want more, and he also says that on what happened at the final whistle between him and Sergio Conceição, he says no comment on that. Thank you very, very much. There was talk about him insulting Sergio Conceição, the manager at FC Porto. But of course, we'll get more detail about that. But I think the key point for me from his press conference is, can we now start looking ahead? Can we start, focusing on winning the Champions League? I mean, he says it's still very far. You've got to give yourself time. But I think it's time for us to look at the Champions League. If we can draw any of Dortmund or PSV, we might actually have a bigger chance, right? We might have a bigger chance. But I'm looking at all these teams and I'm like, bring it on. Really bring it. Apart from Manchester City, the rest of the teams I would be like, bring it on. I don't think there's any other team that is going to massively obliterate Arsenal. I don't really think. But of course, if there is, let me know in the comment box below.